soldier.
Welcome. I'm back. The Albisu Nadvaez Political Commentary Report. You missed me? Anyway, this is serious today. So I figured I'd start it with a poem from my book. Gotta put my glasses on here. Keep me in the path of your will for me. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble. It's a pretty good poetry book. If you like free verse, if you've seen some of my other reports I have read poems from this book before. But I found one today because the theme of today, it's kind of sad. And we all saw what happened with the horrible event that's going to take place with the Supreme Court. And seems like they're going to destroy Roe v. Wade, which I predicted back in November. If you go to my first and second political commentary reports, you'll see I kind of called this. And sometimes when you call something, no one likes an "I told you so." So I don't want to say "I told you so." But I wish I hadn't gotten this one wrong. But I didn't. So I found this poem. It's called, pardon me. Letting Go. The act itself is tantamount to the ultimate confessional, complete with everlasting cleansing power. For when not acting so, results in suffocation of truth and one's ideals. Life is an investment, and experience is the accounting. Verified by one's Rolodex as we classify names touched versus names that grasped. And when we spiritually discover that all we have materially accomplished can only be seen through our own eyes, then it is high time to discard the entire file and move on and cherish what only we can see. This is, in and of itself, at times almost impossible to undertake. Since, can we really be sure whether or not our attempt at objective assessment is accurate or corrupt by our own admission? People inherently cannot forgive themselves, nor ever reform from their entrenched innate ways. Hence the stale experience with such only repeats itself given the chance. And as history does the same, the event is so chronicled. Once a trust is violated, whether this occurrence emanated from ourselves or from the other, human nature never allows the scab to truly heal. And calling the same person a second time becomes masochistic. And the act of letting go becomes an organic love touch, fervent and penetratingly wonderful. Both for me, but more importantly, for you. Because selfless love is always a wonderful new and bright beginning. Now, you may, on the surface, not quickly agree that the issue of terminating a pregnancy, abortion, is relevant to that. But just think about it. But here's the key. Wow. The Supreme Court, Justice Alito. I'm going to come from an angle that you haven't heard yet. They leaked the opinion, as you know, and it's circulating. I read it. Take the time to read it. It's aghast with unscholarship. It's aghast with white supremacy. And that's the part that I want to bring up today. Because the whole ideological debate from the right pertaining to the abortion issue, the right to life, do you know what the original ideological tool was in order to get back power? It was segregation. People forget that. Remember that bum Jerry Falwell? That's a hard word, but hey, we have to call out these bums now. Especially that his son turned out to be worse than him, and he had to, I think, resign from the university. But if you remember the evangelicals, the white evangelicals from the South and the West and Tennessee and Virginia, West Virginia, their first issue was segregation. They were against Brown v. Board of Education. People forget that. And when it became obvious that bigotry was not going to help their cause because of the civil rights movement of the 60s, and then the 70s came along, then they shifted. They shifted their focus on the right to life. They realized, as white supremacist bigots with an ideology, they saw the future. They saw, the white race is not going to be the majority race. And people of color will soon have positions of power. They saw that. And when the great President Lyndon Baines Johnson picked up the baton that Kennedy started and signed the civil rights and created the Great Society, it was clear to these white evangelicals, where generations before, these are the same people that burned witches at the stake. People forget that too. These Christians, these so-called Christians, said, wait a minute, it's not going to work. We got to shift. We have to shift from the segregation issue. What can we do? And Jerry Falwell, the right to life. Remember him? The right to life. And that's when abortion became the number one ideological tool of the far right. Women, please. The right to choose. The right to choose is your sacred right. It's got nothing to do with whether you love a child or want a baby or don't want a baby, That's not the point. It's your right to choose. The Treasury Secretary Yellen the other day, yesterday, said that when Roe v. Wade gets overturned, that's going to destroy economic opportunity for you women. And she's right. And that pompous, I can't believe Tim Scott, the South Carolina senator, man, I don't want to say anything that's going to, my anger with him, it's between him and Clarence Thomas, they're the epitome of what an Uncle Tom really is. But he was admonishing the Treasury Secretary by saying, "How dare you say that?" And she said, "No, you're missing it, Senator. When the kids are born, they're going to be in poverty." And that went over his head. And it went over a lot of you women's heads. I don't get it. I don't understand how, with this election coming up, you can actually vote for the Republican Party. There are a lot of different issues, and we'll cover it in other commentary. I want to focus on the abortion issue, but I want to call it the right to choose issue. I want to get the word abortion out of the vernacular. It's really the right to choose when you want to have a baby. The right to choose the time when you want to go to college. And if you fall in love and all of a sudden a pregnancy occurs, you have to have the choice to say, wait a minute, I have to get my college degree, and therefore I have a right to choose between me, my lover, and the doctor, not the government. The right to choose if you already have 2 children and now you're separated from your husband, the original breadwinner, and now you have to work to support your 2 children because you really can't count on that check from your estranged husband. Should happen, but it might not. So you got to get a job. And all of a sudden you discover, whoops, you're pregnant. Wow. The evangelicals will say, yes, you must have that baby. You have a right to choose. You may want to have that baby, but at least you want the right to choose because you really cannot afford that 3rd child. So you must have the power to make that decision between you, your soul, yourself, and your doctor. Not so much your estranged husband anymore because he's on his way out the door. But you need the right to choose. And if all of a sudden you're this teenager who all of a sudden had an experience, a horrible experience, where an uncle did the wrong thing to you, and now you are pregnant. According to the Republicans, women, in 28 states and climbing, they're saying that you must have that baby, whether you're 12, 13, 14, 15, it's irrelevant. Whether it's your uncle, a neighbor, or a rapist. Or a rapist. A rapist. You have to look at the eyes of that baby and see the eyes of your rapist and raise that child. It's a horror. Why don't the women see that? Why the women who vote Republican? See, because that's who I'm talking to. And if you're listening to this and you are for Roe v. Wade and the right to choose, yes, you're saying yes, Michael. What you're saying is correct. But you know what I would like for you to do? To share this with that suburban white woman who votes Republican. Share this with any woman that you know that votes Republican, whether they're rich or poor. I said in one of my other commentaries, a lot of rich women feel that there's a moat around them, and they'll always be protected. But we know that with illness, pandemic, economic collapses, things change. And that moat isn't big enough or deep enough to protect you. I just can't believe that senator from Tennessee, Blackburn. What a disgrace. I can't believe how Susan Collins and Murkowski was so fooled by Kavanaugh, by Amy, by Gorsuch. Forget about Alito. He's can't do anything about it. And forget about Clarence Thomas. He's a house Negro. I'm sorry. Yes, boss. He was, yes, boss, all the way when Scalia. Yes, boss, what do you want me to do, boss? Be sick, boss? That's Clarence Thomas. And now that he's the senior justice. They do the preliminary vote 5-4. He's the senior justice. He didn't have the guts, the balls to write the opinion, so he gives it to Alito. Forget about his corrupt wife for a minute. That's another topic. Forget about the ethics issue. That's another topic. Just Clarence Thomas. What a disgrace. What a disgrace. And here's the hope. There's 3 weeks between now and the time that they're going to announce this Roe v. Wade. I'm an optimist. May not sound like one, but I am. There's a slight chance, because another leak that came out is that Justice Roberts was going to try to figure out a way to uphold Roe v. Wade the same way he figured out a way how to keep Obamacare, by calling it a tax. People forget that. He was the 5-4 vote. But he needed either Kavanaugh or Gorsuch. He ain't going near Amy. Amy's from, you ever see The Handmaid's Tale? That's Amy. There's a real good friend of mine, performer, Ann Dowd. She was in my first film years ago. And she won an Emmy Award for The Handmaid's Tale. I hope she doesn't mind me bringing this up, because she's just a great artist. But that's Amy. So Roberts is not going near her. He knows that Alito, Thomas, Amy, that's done deal. There's a possibility, not that much with Gorsuch, but there's a real possibility for Kavanaugh to follow the lead the way, yes, boss Thomas followed Scalia. Kavanaugh might follow, yes, sir, to Roberts. And the reason why he might do it is because the only way to get back at the Supreme Court, aside from, they're going to change the rules, make it a term limit. That's going to take a long time. Or they're going to increase the numbers to make it 13. That's going to take forever. But there's one way to stop this, and that's by impeachment. Brett Kavanaugh knows that although the other 5 justices all perjured themselves in their hearings, the one who really perjured himself blatantly is Kavanaugh. And if anybody is going to start thinking about impeaching anybody, he knows that that's the one. Aside from the fact that he so blatantly lied to Collins, and it was Collins' vote that got him over the top. Forget about the McConnell game. We know that. We're not here to talk about that. Forget about what he did with Garland. We're not here to talk about that. We're talking about the here and now. There's a slight chance that because of this leak, and because of the horrible scholarship of Alito and his idiot clerks, wow, how did they become law clerks? They're bringing up some guy, a witch hunter from the 17th to 18th century. They're misusing terms not in the history of this country. When you got a precedent for 50 years, that's history. If you're a woman and you're under 50 years old, do you realize that you've had your whole life with the protection of the right to choose because of Roe v. Wade? When Roe v. Wade passed in 1973, that means anyone born after 1958, that's you're 15 years old, there's a possibility for having a baby. So every woman born from 1958 on have enjoyed the benefit of the right to choose. 1958. 64 years ago? Think about it. That's history. Alito. Excuse me. So this is important. Letting go. Like I said in the poem, let go of your prejudices. I'm talking to you, right-wingers. I'm talking to you, women who vote Republican. Let it go. Understand. There has to be pressure for a possible 5-4 ruling with Roberts writing the opinion with Kavanaugh joining the three great jurists, Kagan, Sotomayor, and Breyer, who's ready to retire, who's retiring. That's all that's left. And if Roe v. Wade does get overturned, wow, chaos. Women, no more right to choose. Think about that. Think about that. No more ability to plan your life. And then they're going to go after contraception. You won't even be able to make love when you want to. It's insanity. It needs to stop. You need to put the pressure, and if Roe v. Wade does get overturned, you must vote Democratic in this November 22 election. Aside from the other reasons, I'll bring them up in more commentary. But man, you must bring Democrats to the Senate. Mitch McConnell can never have power again. How's our time? Okay. So there's more. I think that's enough for now. For those independent voters, please vote Democratic. For those Democratic voters, make sure you get the vote out. The voting rights is, that's another issue. We'll talk about that. But if you're on the right, and all of a sudden think, as a woman on the right, think of your daughter. Think about what you're going to do if all of a sudden some cousin of yours rapes your daughter and your daughter is pregnant. Think. The right to choose. The right to choose. The right to plan. The right to love. The right to make love. And plan your life. The people that are advocating the abolishment, the ban of abortion, they're not anti-abortion. They're anti-women. They're anti-women. That's the key. Look at that political leader in the eye. Look at that family member in the eye. Look at that male that you interact with, whether on the soccer field or the whatever event you do, at work, whatever. Look at that person in the eye and ask him, are you anti-abortion or are you anti-women? And then from that look in the eye and that reactions, when you go to vote, realize, hey, I got to think of my granddaughter. I got to think of my daughter. And I got to think of myself. We done?
5 minutes left.
Okay. All right, how do you want to sign this off?
You want me to turn it off?
No. You can.
They've got 5 minutes. It's less than 5 minutes.
All right, so how do I normally sign this thing off? Oh, okay, I remember. Okay.
Tune into my next.
All right.
Tune into my next.
I got it.
This is my book.
I got it. So anyway, tune in to my next Albizu Nadvaez Political Commentary Report. If you like this, please share, subscribe, give me that thumbs up, give me the thumbs down. I don't mind. I'm a big boy. I can take it. Teach me. Give me the thumbs down. Or give me the thumbs up. But share. Most important, subscribe. Let's learn together. Bye-bye.